Hey mamas, welcome to Fun Rich Mom. I'm Mitch Blackford. Today, I'm going to be talking to Julia Jordan. She used to work in the finance and investment industry and was just a heavy hitter boss woman and found herself super stressed out and crying in her cars before she had to go to work in the morning. Now, hopefully you can't relate to that, but I'm guessing some of you can. And what it really did, though, is it led her to a point where she finally said, you know what? It is time to start living who I'm supposed to be. And that now had her launch a new podcast called Moving Mattresses and 3-inch Heels. I just love the name of that. It's so much fun. It so embodies how we show up as women. And she's got 5 amazing pillars that she's talking about. And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, whether you're a mother, young woman, middle-aged, or you've passed those menopausal years, she's going to give a breakdown of how she is going to be helping supporting us and giving us information that maybe we haven't had access to or that just hasn't been talked about, that's going to make better understanding in what's going on with your body, what's going on with being a woman, and how we can approach it and navigate it so much more gracefully. So we're going to have a good time with this. You might want to take some notes. And with that, let's get started. Can't even think of what time it is. Good morning, Julia. How are you?
Good morning. Well, it's 8 o'clock where you are. It's 9 o'clock where I am. So, it's like coffee's only half done, at least in Central Time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I've been up for a little while, but still, you kind of get your day rolling. It's like, all right, we're recording first thing. And I usually do this in the afternoon. So, just kind of mixing up my day, but that's cool. I'm excited to start it off with you because just in the past when we've talked, you've just got this great energy. And I felt very lifted and motivated after our conversation. So I know that's going to happen today for everyone that's listening.
Awesome. I felt the same way about you when we talked. So that worked out. Oh, great.
Yay. Cool. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you on your newly dropped podcast, Moving Mattresses in 3-inch Heels, right?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm excited. Yeah.
You got to tell me and everyone that's listening about how you came up with the name for that. So cute.
Yeah, it's literal. I was literally moving a mattress in 3-inch heels. And my girlfriend and I, one of my really good girlfriends from back in the day when I still liked going out. I'm good with Netflix and some popcorn at this point in life. But back in the day, so I went over to her condo and I walk in and we're both dressed, done, fabulous, ready to go out. And I walk into her condo and there's a mattress leaning against her living room wall. And I'm like, what is that? She goes, oh my God, I need you to help me. I'm like, do what? She's like, move it. Move it where? Oh, out to the garage by the dumpster. They said they would take it. And I'm like, yeah, we can do it tomorrow. She's like, no, right now. I'm like this? So I'm like, okay,
my moving attire.
Have you seen us? Have you seen us? So anyway, I said yes. I'm a good girlfriend. And so I'm pushing, she's pulling, and I look down and I'm like, I'm moving a mattress in 3-inch heels. And they're my favorite pair on top of it all. And I love these things. I miss them. I wish I bought 2 pairs of them. They were like champagne silk slingback with crystal, like different colors of neutral champagnes and browns, and just, love them, miss them so. But anyway, yeah, so I'm moving a mattress literally in 3-inch heels. And, I just thought, that really embodies women. Like, for better or for worse, we do everything and we look good doing it. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a thing. So it just has always been up in the vault. And so when I was trying to come up with a name for the podcast, I was like, why not? It's about empowering women and let's do it. So that's where the name came from.
Let's do it looking good.
Yeah. Right.
Such a fun story. And isn't that true? Like, we all have that one pair of shoes that we remember. You were mentioning yours and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember those heels that I used to love to wear. And I kept them for so long. And I think they were ridiculously tall. And I just would stare at them because after a while, it's like, they hurt my back. to wear
I
heels.
know.
Even sitting down, you're like, oh, this is uncomfortable. So there was that one day where I finally said, okay, it's time for you guys to go. And part of me is like, I wish I still had them just to every now and then slip my foot in them and walk around for 30 seconds and then take them off.
That's how I feel about my high heels in general. Like, I love shoes, but I always wear either like little sneakers or sandals, flip-flops. Like, but I have the cutest pairs of shoes that I don't wear anymore because it just, life is different. I think especially after COVID, we got even more casual and,
Sure.
where maybe we don't go into the office anymore and a lot of us work from home. And so it's like, I only have to look good from here up. You don't know what the rest is doing.
What am I wearing down here?
Do I have yoga pants on? Do my clothes match? Like, am I in socks, bare feet? So I have like a bunch of high heels that I'm just like, I miss you girls. And they're like, we miss you too. And then I'll put them on. I go, yeah, no, but okay. Yes. And I'm 5'9". So, and
Same
I'm not
here.
You're tall. So tall girls that wear high heels, not afraid. So I'm good if I'm 6 feet. I mean, hey, you know what? Let's do this.
It's so true. It's so funny because my husband, Andrew, for a little while, he was used to wearing, I would wear platforms or cute heels or whatever. And then, they started shrinking and shrinking. And he's like, I feel like you've shrunk. I'm like, no, I'm still my same height. I'm just wearing shorter shoes. So now I actually have to look up to him because he's 6 feet on the nose. So we used to look eye to eye all the time. And now I'm like, I look up to you.
Let's have a conversation. Is he really 6 feet? Because mine
actually 6 feet.
He is. Okay. Because mine, Steve, he's like, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm like, the only person that thinks you're 6 feet tall is your mom. Okay. You are not. He's like 5'10", 5'11". I mean, he's not like super short, but like when you're with someone that's 5'9", and it's like, he's like, yes, I am. I'm like, no, you're not. So I didn't know if he's like, every guy says they're 6 feet tall. So I'm just like,
right. It's a standard. No, we actually did a measuring. Yeah. So my brother was in town and we're like, who's taller? And we did them back to back and then we measured them and he was like on the nose. We're like, you're actually 6 feet. And he's like,
really know your license is telling the truth. How about that?
It's true. I know. It's
okay. So there's one guy.
Yeah. He's pretty good like that. So tell me though, we were talking a little bit about, you have 5 pillars and I love they all start with me. Me. And can you explain a little bit about how you came up with these pillars and why they're so important to you and why you think that they will resonate with women watching your show?
Well, I started coming up with these pillars because I'm going to say a dirty word. It's menopause. I know. Yeah. So, hi, welcome. And I wish I knew in my 40s what was going to happen when I hit 50 because I could have been proactive. Where now I'm reactive, I'm on my heels and I'm learning as I go, where I feel like had I known, maybe I could have prevented or at least mitigated what's going on. Yeah. I mean, we only talk about like hot flashes and night sweats, neither of which I have. I know, don't throw your hate at me. But there's other things, like your joints hurt, your muscles hurt, and you think all of a sudden you wake up and you have arthritis, and you really don't. It's menopause. So your hormones do crazy things to your body. So it started with there, like, how can I learn more? And as I learned, I'm like, if I can't possibly be the only woman that doesn't know this stuff, and we can't blame our mothers. They didn't know. Nobody talked about it. We're just now starting to talk about it. So, I started building out the podcast with that. And then I thought about, well, what are the things that affect it? Well, my metabolism, that slows. And then thinking about meditation and mental health. And then I added a 5th, medical. And I can go into each one a little bit if you would like as to...
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, the first one is metabolism. And what a lot of people don't know, I didn't know this. Most of us have damaged metabolisms.
Really?
Yeah. And it has to heal before it can work properly. And it can be healed. But there's a lot of factors that go into it. It could be our diet or that we're dieting. Our hormones play a part of it, not just if you're menopausal or perimenopausal. I mean, before all that, our hormones affect our metabolism. Stress, adrenals, there's so much that goes into it, but most of us have a damaged metabolism. So it's about finding the root causes, addressing them, through nutrition, but also nurturing ourselves and connection with our bodies, with people. So it's a holistic approach, is just looking at the whole thing, not just our physical well-being, but our mental and emotional. It all plays together. So we have to heal our metabolisms first to get it functioning properly. And then we look at our intake, and it just becomes a lifestyle. And we feel better when we do it. So we'll talk about metabolism and the things that affect it and how to have a proper functioning one. And then the second one was meditation, but maybe not in the traditional sense where, people think you sit in a dark room and stare at a ceiling. But really what meditation for me is what we focus on, because what we focus on, there is a meditation to it. And sometimes we get ourselves on a loop, and it's usually the negative things, the stuff that's bothering us. So it's how do we discipline our minds? So we're focused on the right things. How do we learn the balance between yes and no? Saying yes to ourselves more, being present in our own presence, finding time for ourselves, and really just living the best version of who we are. Even going so deep as to say, who am I at my core? And you can look at it as, when am I the happiest? What am I doing? Because probably that's what we were put on this earth to do. That's our purpose. And really focusing on that and making the time to do that and be that, because that's who we are. And then the third is menopause, which we already talked about. Don't need to beat a dead horse. But it's really important. Meeting women where we are in our journey. Here's the reality of life as a woman. We are either in menopause, have been through menopause, or we will go through menopause. It's inescapable. Now, when you're 32 and, living life, and even if you have kids, women are smarter now. They don't have kids at 32 anymore, but, they're usually wait till they're older. But, you're thinking about different things. Are you packing your kids' lunch? Do you want to have babies? Are you wanting to get married? Where are you in your career? You're so not thinking about it in your 30s. But it's just about meeting women where they are in the journey, educating women, knowing you can be proactive, and maybe you can't prevent things, but you can mitigate them, and knowing what the signs are. And there's hundreds of symptoms. I'm not exaggerating. It's not just 2 or 3. So it's just really understanding our bodies. And then the fourth one is mental health. Of course, we'll touch on anxiety and depression, but I want to talk about the root causes and get creative where, let's talk about finance. Money is at the top of most people's lists when it comes to anxiety and depression. So let's talk about that. Yep. Or body image, particularly for women. I mean, body image is like Pandora's box and a can of worms had a baby. It's just, most of us do not feel good about ourselves. We can look great, but we don't feel good. So it's about shedding positive light on ourselves, going easy on ourselves, giving ourselves grace. We're not perfect. And you know what? It has to be okay. And not just physically, in all ways. We have to give ourselves more grace. But, we'll talk about, not just trauma or loss, but what's holding on to us? How do we address that and overcome it so we can move forward productively? And then the last pillar is medical. And I added that after the fact because I thought about it and I thought I would be remiss if I didn't add it, because the other 4 do overlap. I think it's important to be grounded in traditional medicine, but the fact is traditional medicine is limited. So looking at alternative approaches, you want to be under a doctor's care. I don't want people going crazy and be like, hey, this works and it's some root from out back. No, but I'm saying let's be open to other things besides traditional medicine, work with our doctors, but also finding the right healthcare providers that can diagnose us properly, that can take us seriously and will take us seriously. I talk to so many women that have been misdiagnosed, and including myself, that, oh, you need to go see a psychiatrist. Why? Because you can't figure out what's wrong with me. I must be crazy. That happens to a lot of women. So finding the right healthcare providers, but also access to medical care. They say it's affordable healthcare, but I don't know for who. So let's look at our options there. What are you paying for and what are you getting for what you're paying for? Because there seems to be a big disconnect. I'm paying for an awful lot and getting very little. So addressing that as well.
Mm. Those are all really, each one you're like, oh, I need to stop you there and talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because yeah, each one is such a big part of your life. And especially as, you're progressing through your journey. And as women, I was reading a book. It's called The Female Brain by Luann Brizendine. And
Oh, yeah.
she's, absolutely amazing. I recommend you read it. She also does The Male Brain. And it just talks about how those hormones and chemicals play and have such an impact throughout your life.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, with men, it's a little more, we have definite stages kind of in timelines. With
Right.
women, though, once we hit our cycle, it's all over the place because within the month, we're just on a roller coaster ride.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I had gone to see my gynecologist a while ago. This was a couple of years ago, and we were talking about perimenopause and everything. And I had said, well, I'd love to get my hormones tested. And she said, it's really pointless because I can test you today and you'll have this level. And if I test you tomorrow, your levels are going to be completely different.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, I mean, I knew, but I didn't realize. And it's something that I think we don't really have a grasp or understanding. And you're right. There's no one out there teaching it. There's no one out there. There's no real manual on it unless you really dedicate yourself to going and researching it. Women's bodies were just kind of this mystery that we just have to figure out as what happened now?
Yeah.
So I love that you're approaching all of these topics.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the information's out there. It's just you have to dig. It's not readily available.
Yes.
And there's people talking about that right now where there's just not as much information about that as there could be or should be. And I just want to be another voice because I feel like we're a community of women we all got our own stuff. We're all individuals, but sometimes we feel like what we're going through, we're the only ones. We feel alone. We feel lonely. And even if we know that's not rational. We know that's not possible. It's still how we feel. So it's a relevant feeling, even if we know it's not possible. So I just want to be a space, and I think you do too, of being community for women and taking care of one another and having, a safe space where we can talk about stuff that society still feels like is taboo. Now, menopause is nature. How is that taboo? But we're not allowed to talk about it. So let's just get together and not just menopause, but other things too that maybe we don't want to talk about or shouldn't talk about because society dictates. Let's be a safe space for each other. And that's really kind of what I want to do.
Yeah, it's opening up that dialogue where, oh gosh, finally someone is talking about it out loud where maybe I'll just listen to this, and I don't have to ask my friends, but now that I'm listening to it, now it can become a conversation piece and I feel safe. Exactly.
Yeah. I think you're right because one of my girlfriends is 45 and she's not been through the fun yet, but I told her, I told her, just be proactive. I'm talking to her about it. And what you said about talking to your friends, you don't even talk to other women about it. It's not even just that we can't talk to men about it. And why would we? But it's almost like you can't talk about it, period. So it's interesting that you said, yeah, you could talk to your girlfriend. And I did yesterday about that. And I just was thinking, gosh, I think that's probably one of very few times I've said that out loud to a friend of mine. And so, yeah, I like that you brought that up. That, yeah, we can talk to our friends about it. They're going through it too. And if they're not, they will, regardless of what it is,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then you left a pretty high profile career in the past. And what was that like to make the transition, to make this decision that, okay, I'm all in on this?
Yeah. I worked in finance and investments and I loved my clients. I loved the investments, financial planning aspect of the job. I did not love corporate America, but when you're raising a child, or a child in my case, but children, you do what you have to do. You want to give your kids the best life possible. And so you just suck it up and you take it and you do it. But it gets oppressive, to just know, why is it that when I do something, oh, they hear another voice a different voice on the other end of the phone. That's why you're successful. Or, oh, Joe's been looking to hire a woman for a really long time. I'm glad they got you. That's code for the only reason you got a job was. And that's hard to listen to. But, and I felt like women get criticized for the same things men get celebrated for. And that's all well and good. And people are like, yeah, why don't you cry me a river? But when it's years and years, and I know this happens to a lot of women, and you can't fix it. That's the reality of it. And to be very clear, I am not man bashing. I do not hate men. Okay. Are we good? But this is a real thing, and it happens to a lot of women. And what I found happening was my shift towards having a real heart for women, and understanding that I'm not the only person this is happening to. And so I started just looking at women in a different light, as far as, we're warriors on the outside, but there's so much going on the inside. And we're all struggling with something. I remember when I was new, before I would come to work, I'd sit in my car and cry. That's how much I hated to go in sometimes. And then I'd have to go be a badass, and I go do it. But this is all of us, there's some things that literally we know we have to do, but they make us cry, And yes. And we get through it and we get over it. So that's why I started pursuing this. And I'm just, been able to little by little do that. And, it's like I said before, when you find where you are at your happiest, that's what you were really here for. That's your purpose. This is when I'm at my happiest. Working with women, being someone that promotes women and promotes self-care. That's a necessity. We need to take care of ourselves and not apologize for it. So that's...
What would you say is the biggest self-care step that has really made a difference in your life?
I ask myself a question. And the question is, would I do this for someone that I love? And if the answer is yes, then I ask myself another question. Then why aren't I doing it for myself?
That's fantastic. And it's so true, because we will do so many things for other people. And you can't, all of the, everyone listening, you just think about how many times have you been talking with your girlfriend and she's like, I'm this and this and that. And you're like, you need to stop. You need to take care of yourself. Go do this. Go do this. Why don't I? And we wouldn't extend that same courtesy to ourselves. We're totally missing the fact that we're talking to a mirror, and we give all this grace and love and energy to someone else, but we won't take that same time for ourselves because it's like, well, I'm too busy. I'm okay. I can handle it. Yeah. Such a great set of questions to ask.
Yeah. And you think about it. Not only would we say yes to the people that we love, we'd probably stop what we are doing for them. Yes. It's like, just take care of yourself the same way, and I think we settle in our relationship with ourselves the most. We get our crumbs. And so let's bring ourselves to the top of that list. Start with me, and that's kind of let's start with ourselves, let's have the most energy for ourselves, because honestly, what we're doing for our kids, for our partners, for our friends, our family, we have such good intentions. So we would be even better for them if we're better to us. If we want to take care of them so badly, take care of ourselves first, because everybody gets a more quality me when I'm taking care of me, when I'm happy. And I would really encourage your listeners to find where they are the happiest at their core. Get that 5 minutes or 10 minutes first thing in the morning before chaos ensues, and really start thinking about it. And then once you go, yeah, that's what it is. And you probably already know, but you put that back here because I got lunch to make. I got shopping to do. I got work. I've got this. I've got that. See, right there. Everybody else has got the best of you. Yeah. Take that few minutes, figure out what it is. And you probably do already know. So it's more acknowledging it. Get comfortable with that and then start pursuing it. I love writing, and it took me 10 years to write a novel that I'm now in the process of getting published. But 10 years would have gone by anyway. It took me 10 years, not because I was writing War and Peace, because I just didn't have time, So I found the time. Do it little by little, because whether it's a year, 5 years, 10 years, it's going by anyway. So make the most of it. Even if you do a little bit here and there, you'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was talking to someone recently and she was asking me, well, what do you do to kind of same thing, set your day off right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people won't like this answer. And there's some people who just can't do this because they have a schedule where, sorry, where they can't put this time
I
in.
am
But
so
I know
all in. I totally feel you in the hair thing.
I know. It's like, okay, I got up, I got it did.
Yeah,
Usually it's up in a
good.
ponytail, but
Yeah.
but literally, so Andrew gets up at 5 in the mornings
Yeah.
because he has to go to work. He leaves around 5:30. So I started getting up with him and I'll pack his lunch and his breakfast. And it's not because he can't do it himself. And it's not because he's like, hey, little woman, you
Right.
work out
I
of the
get
home.
it.
So it's nothing
Yeah.
like that. It's just, it did two things for me. First of all, it was just a little treat that I can do for my husband to remind him, hey, I
Yeah.
love you. I want to take care of
Right.
you. And this is just a
Right.
little something I can do to make your day better. So
Yeah.
that puts us in a good spot. And the second thing is then I stay up and my girls are asleep. And so I have this maybe hour and a half of silence where the house is, well, I mean, it's not empty, but where people are sleeping, the animals aren't barking. My husband's off, doing his thing. And I can just literally take the time to do the things that I need to do to just feel like, okay, I had that space in the day where now when I wake up, it's not crazy and everything's just rushing at me and I feel behind. It's actually intentional. And I felt like, okay, I just am being pulled in a million ways. And like I said, I know not everyone has that time to do that because a lot of people, like my mom, when she works, she was getting up at 3 and 4 in the morning to go to work. So she doesn't have that space.
Right.
It's finding it in different areas. And then some of my friends are like, why do you get up at 5 every morning? And I'm like, I know it kind of sucks for a while, but now I just get up. It's just, there's maybe 3 minutes where I'm like, and then once those 3 minutes pass, I'm up and it's no big deal.
I'm the same. I do the same exact thing. We have like very similar schedules as far as just getting up. That first like half hour is mine. And then we take it from there. So, but yeah. But like you said, some people don't have that morning time, but there is time,
Yes.
There's lunchtime, there's after dinner, maybe, record a show instead of sitting and watching it and go do something else. Go upstairs, go in another room, go outside, just get your space for a few minutes. Everybody will be okay. They will make it. They don't think so. That's so funny. Like the first couple times you do it, where'd you go? Over there. I'm good. Just doing stuff, doing my 20 minutes of me, but it's funny.
Yeah. And you think 24 hours a day and to take 20 minutes, it's not that much time.
It's really not. Are we asking too much?
And it can also breathe so much life into you just for those 20 minutes. Yeah, that's so funny.
It really can. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So are you going to be throughout the podcast? Obviously, I saw you have a guest that you bring in. I love that. Will you also be opening up any programs or starting any collaboratives for women to join and just be a part of this community?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to get some traction here with what I'm doing. Just kind of like feel like, okay, I got this. And then baby steps. But yes, sure, yes, I do. I want to have more collaborative opportunities with women, social media, like groups, and just ways that women can reach out and, down the road, maybe even do something in person, so we can see our community live. But yeah, I'm definitely in the process of doing that and putting out like some ebooks too, just so we can get little ideas of things to help us through the day or nutrition, just, quick guides that you can download and read. So yeah, I want to do all the things, but and I'll get there. Thank you for asking.
So since leaving your career and making the space to do this, obviously it was a journey. And I love that you said that it took you 10 years to write this book, because so many of times we're like, well, I don't have a month to sit in some hotel room staring at a river with the sunset and a glass of wine to write this book that we think we need. It's written in the cracks of time, right? Your little spaces in between. And like you said, that time's going to be passing anyway. And now 10 years later, it might not have been the timeline you wanted, but 10 years later, here you are. And you have this book, this thing that you've accomplished. would you say what part of your journey in your timeline did you really start to see, I guess, your passion for I need more than just reacting to life? I need to actually be intentional and I want to start living my life the way I know I'm designed to be. Can you see in your,
Yeah.
like I said, if you look back, where it started to happen and what really happened around you that inspired that change?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for all of us that are moms, our kids come first, and it should be that way. And it's about finding time. So I always knew this was all there. I just couldn't get to it, couldn't access it, and I would just put it away. And it's okay; it'll be there. Um, and my daughter left for college, and I mean, it's tragic what you like. You're just like, oh, you know. But there's good things about it. I see her flourishing. You see your kids when they just like leave the nest, they do fly. And I got a different perspective because mom guilt is real. And we beat ourselves up horribly. And again, if we're not perfect, we give ourselves all kinds of hell. We need to give ourselves grace. And looking back, I got a new perspective because I see this kid flourishing. And she's ambitious, she's hardworking, she's doing really well. And I'm like, oh, I might have had something to do with that. Maybe I didn't do so bad after all, because it's constantly, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't have enough of this, didn't have enough time for this, didn't have enough money for this, didn't that, didn't this. But I was a good example. And I was there a lot, I did more than I didn't do. And I did everything I could, and I was beating myself up more for the stuff I couldn't do. It's not that I couldn't, And so I got a different perspective going, oh, I guess I didn't do so bad because she turned out okay, and I can't take all the credit for it. She's going and doing it. But I laid a foundation,
Mm-hmm.
I was a good example. I was there. And so I started letting up on myself. Not completely, because, God forbid.
No.
Yeah, no. But I did start to let up on myself. And I started getting a new perspective of, I think I'm probably like that in every part of my life. I'm too hard on myself, but I do better than I think. So let me look at things a different way. And that's kind of when things shifted for me, like you're saying. And I really came into what I think a lot of people call our second act. And what I like to call a second act is a significant transition from life as we know it to life as we create it. And I wanted to start living life as I create it. And I want other women to do the same thing, to move from life as we know it to life as we create it. And it's empowering. But sometimes we only have 10 minutes a day to do that. And I get that. Like you're saying, we can't go sit in a hotel room on the river with a glass of wine and write the next greatest American novel. You need an advance for that. And you need to be, and you need to be a somebody to get an advance. So, and that'll come. But yeah, you have to create life as you create it in the cracks of time. Like you said, I love that saying. I'm going to borrow that because that's a beautiful saying. Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, I love it.
I wanted to hear that. I felt like it was really important that people hear that because sometimes, it's like you said, we're so busy, but you have kind of this urging, this tugging at you throughout those busy spots where something's not right, something's got to give, or there's a little piece of me that's like, hey, it's waving really hard, but I keep ignoring it. And at some point in time, there just comes either an experience or it's been knocking hard enough where you're like, I can't not be this little person. I can't lock them up anymore. Yeah. They need to fly. And at the same time, I also see some people, they just lock it away and push it so far back that it doesn't even have a voice anymore. So I'm so glad that you recognized it and that you're such a proponent for other women to recognize it as well. Yeah. And hopefully they hear in your story, oh, hey, that was kind of happening to me too. I hear myself. And maybe I should start listening to that voice a little bit more. Yeah. I love that. So tell everybody, where can they find you? Where's your podcast? Is it on YouTube? Is it where are we finding you?
It is on YouTube.
Okay.
Moving Mattresses and 3-inch heels. It'll come up. And then I'm also Apple, iHeart, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can get your podcast. You can download it there, listen to it. And obviously I'm on Facebook and Instagram too.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and your time, and for following the voice that was inside of you saying, hey, you know what? There's more to me than crying every morning in my car and going to work.
Yeah.
I could literally hear the people going, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. Thank you. Because life, it gets at you. And sometimes we feel like that's the only option. And it's not. And it's not necessarily like, okay, as soon as I make this decision, everything falls into place. Right. I doubt that that's rarely the case, as I'm sure you can attest to, and I can attest to. It's not like, walk in the park. Life is
no
great.
problems.
It's like, there's going to be some work.
I love that you said that. And, I take obstacles as confirmation. So, it's like, wow, then this is real confirmation because I'm having a really hard time with this. I must be on the right path. So that's what I tell myself to get through the valleys. And that's a good kind of thing to think. Obstacles are confirmation that you're on the right path. Yeah,
definitely. It's just sharpening you, making you stronger, making you more of the person that's going to flourish and shine, for sure.
Yeah.
I like that. Nice. Whew, okay. Well, this is good stuff. I am so excited for you. I'm going to go definitely check out your podcast. And I encourage anyone that's listening to check out her podcast, because I'm sure you're going to get a ton of value out of it. I already am I didn't think about my metabolism has an issue, or, just some of the things of menopause, because it's true. Yeah. Like, we hear hot flashes and mood swings, but we don't hear about, my joints could hurt, or bad sleeping, or brain fog, or all of the many things.
Right.
And I loved your take on meditation, that it doesn't have to necessarily be some but just the moments where you can, again, let that voice out to speak to you, where all of the other noise isn't coming in. And then, of course, the medical, man, I'm going through a little medical journey myself right now. And it's just like, you're just getting bounced around. Yeah. Like, okay, well, it's not this. Why don't we send you to this person? Well, it's not that one. I'm like, I swear this stuff was going on. I'm not crazy.
Right. It's
and
hard.
So, love that you're advocating for that. And maybe we can, with the collectiveness coming in, create a solution for sure. So thank you. Thank you for stepping up for you. Thank you for stepping up for women. And I'm sure your daughter is super proud of you. And if she was on this show, she'd probably be saying, yes, my mom definitely laid the foundation so that I could go out and rock this world, for sure. I can get that from you. Totally.
Thank you for that. And thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yay. Okay, we're going to wrap it up now. I'm telling you, I can see all the things that, like I said, I'm listening to and going, I got to get more information on this. So check her out. In the meanwhile, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had fun. I know that I did. And in the meanwhile, go out there, make it fun. Have such a fun time with your life. That's what it's about. Make it rich. Enjoy those moments and cherish every single one, instead of just zooming past and saying, what happened? And as always, if you got some value out of this, share this episode with someone. I'm sure that it's going to be the spark that helps them get that voice out of them and say, you know what, maybe there is a little bit more to me than what I've been living. And I would appreciate you're subscribing, and drop a comment. Let us know what you liked about this, what you were curious about, and what you want to hear more of. And until the next time, make it fun, make it rich, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.